everybody, and good morning to one and all. My name is Srijani Bhadri, and today we have with us a very special guest. Today we have Mr. Amlan Haldar with a robust background in engineering and leadership. He has significantly contributed to the tech industry through his innovative mindset. In addition to his engineering prowess, his creative side also shines through his multifaceted talents and dedication to both his professional and creative pursuits. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you.
So my first question would be, what inspired you to pursue a career in engineering and technology?
I think engineering and technology is something that kind of, is a natural progression for students who study the STEM field, essentially. And, I used to like math, physics, while in school. It was just a continuation from there. And engineering is one of the things, not only it's a good progression, but also it's a very there are a lot of job opportunities. There is opportunities to make a difference, and of course make a good living. All this kind of came together. I have to be honest and say that when I made that decision way back when I was in high school to study engineering, I didn't know that much details. It was like, a lot of it was just inertia, uh, and I think I picked it up and it turned out quite well so far.
Thank you so much. So my next question would be, you work in a really, really pioneering field in Amazon, which is the music search. And as we all know, that's a very, very special type of search. And it's very, very different from the technical search where we have to key in Google. And also it gets very fuzzy around the edges because it's mostly through a voice assistant. And so how exactly does the model deal with the very abstract part of this search?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, there are there are some differences between how textual search works and the voice search works. Uh, you'll be surprised how much of the technical stack is same. So essentially, to give a very simple explanation, there are two additional steps that happen for a voice search. The first is called ASR, which is audio speech recognition. That means that when somebody says something, it's heard by it's taken by the microphone, and then there are machine learned models which take that speech and converts it into text. Like suppose if I say, "Hey, what is your name?" When I hear what is in a name, but the computer, when it hears what is your name, it hears that and it translates it and writes it into text. So what is your name, right? So and then also basically now you have something said in voice and it is available for you in text. Now from there on, you can actually reuse a lot of the stack, rest of the technology that we use for also text search, but it's not quite simple. There are other things which we also do for voice search. For example, when you text search, you typically look for what somebody is typing in the text box, say in Google or in Bing. But in voice, an additional thing happens. We also try to look for how a word sounds, and we try to look up. So there's technology we have to build where we not only try to find what someone has typed, but also find someone like how something sounds. So it's a different technology to index that and retrieve that data from the index. So that's another thing that is different that happens in the voice stack, in the voice search, in the voice assistants.
Thank you so much. That actually really gives me a lot of information because I'm very interested in this field. So my next question will be, what are some of the more significant and memorable projects that you have worked in during your entire tech career?
That's quite interesting. So I actually started my career in some enterprise software I think that one of the most memorable was one of the initial projects that I did when during my early years when I joined Yahoo. I used to work from India, then Bangalore actually, and we were trying to build a system where we will be able to collect data about how a particular customer was using the Yahoo website when they came. Like for example, like somebody comes to Yahoo at that time and somebody would spend more time reading sport articles versus someone else who would come and they would read more like movie reviews, and somebody else they would come and they maybe read like more financial news like stock markets, those kinds of things. And they would actually collect that information, and then depending on what kind of things the customer is interested in, you would accordingly show them the right kind of advertising. And so my job was to actually take all this information and represent it in a manner which was able to where every customer we created profiles for these customers, and then this was used for better ad targeting. It actually, one might think, oh, we are kind of tracking what the customer is doing and its privacy violation. Actually, it's done in a very very privacy compliant manner. It's the customer data is anonymized, the customer IDs are anonymized, and the good thing is that when we do that, a customer, when they see an advertising, they find the advertising much more relevant. Not like they don't feel like some random ad is being shown to the person. Like if I like sports, I don't want to go and see ad about, so let's say, I don't know, jewelry, right? Whereas my wife might be interested in looking at a nice jewelry ad, a new design or something like that, right? So if we create this profile, it makes sense. My wife gets the ad she wants, and I get the ads I want, right? I think that was a very satisfying project that I did. Uh, Especially like it was very early on in my career. It was quite a complex one, and it was something that has also very tight timeline. So I feel, when I look back and think, I feel very good about it during that project. We used to call it like behavior targeting at that time, so that was a nice one.
Yeah, because that was cutting edge technology, right? That at
At
that
that time,
that
at
was
that time,
pioneering
yeah.
technology. Yeah. So my next question would be like, yeah, now there is artificial intelligence pretty much everywhere. And in voice assistants, they are also there. Like they are pretty much all pervasive right now. And so AI has also changed a lot of facets in the way search would function, like as we can see using generative AI and several other things. So, is there any way one can integrate artificial intelligence into smoothing or more like shortening the process of music search?
That's right. That's actually a very good question. In fact, AI has been used in music search for many many years. I mean, AI is not something new. I mean, Google has used AI for the last 20-25 years. So has, the other big tech companies and the big and small, many startups. It's just that AI, that word has become very familiar. It's become cool. Everyone is talking about it, and it all started with Chat GPT. OpenAI launching Chat GPT and making things cool. But to be honest, AI has been getting used for a very very long time in all these products, and something like search, is very very. It uses AI technologies to a very large extent. Uh, Coming to Gen AI technologies, that does definitely, help uh, in music search, but there's a slight nuance. There are two kind of problems. There is a search problem, and there is a generative AI problem. I mean, the Gen AI stands for generative AI. What does that mean? That means AI is generating something. Now, why am I saying this? If you say search is typically you go and search something, but like that exists. That means you don't have to generate it, that exists. Whereas in generative AI, it doesn't exist. So you try to generate that. Let me give you an example. Uh, a lot of us go and use playlist. We make our own playlists, and say we go and probably people use Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. Everywhere there's a way to make a playlist. Now, when I make a playlist, I can use that playlist. I can listen to that playlist. I can search for that playlist, and others can also search for my playlist that I created, and they can listen to that. Now, typically, there are people like, there are hundreds of millions of customers. They create like, billions of playlists. So we have to be able to search for this playlist. Now that's a search use case. Now we recently launched a feature where if like, you can come and say, hey, make me a playlist for a rainy afternoon in London, for example, right? And suppose no such playlist exists, AI then goes and creates this playlist. So that means it generates that playlist. So that's pretty cool. So now what is happening is that AI is figuring out, hey, look, there is no good playlist for this thing that's available. Or even if it is available, I will surface them, but I'll also generate something and then also give it as another option. So that's how we can go and build new use cases where customers are like, they were not able to do that before, but rather than earlier, like, people would have to pick an each song and put them together and create. Instead of that, now they can just come and say, hey, make me a playlist for any day in London. And suddenly there are like 10 songs in the playlist, and it's much easier to create that. And it's a fun way to experiment with the service. So those are some of the differences, and where we are able to use generative AI to create very nice, meaningful, and very very wow customer experiences.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I'm going to check it out today only. So,
Yeah,
like as you said, there are several use cases. Like every single customer uses even for an abstract software like a music app, they use it even more differently. So how exactly does the software create different use cases? Because it's kind of hard to create use cases for every single possible thing, and it's also pretty hard to understand what a use case is. So could you please give a brief idea of what exactly a use case is and how do we look at it?
yeah. I mean, to take a very simple example of a use case is that, hey, uh, when I say I start searching for a song, as I start typing, I want to get a drop down in which I want to show the results which are more relevant to based on the characters I have typed till that point of time. So the use case here is that, hey, that drop down has to show the most relevant songs or albums or artists based on the query I have typed. Now to build something like this, now of course this is one thing. Now to build something like this behind the scenes, you would need a lot of things working. For example, you would need to have a index of all the popular songs. You need to have a index where which essentially an index means where essentially you say that, hey, if the character is A, these are the possibilities. If the character is AR, these are the characters. If the ARI, these are the possibilities, right? And then essentially a database behind the scenes, a database which keeps this information, and it has to be also very fast where you are, because it has to, as the customer is typing, it's very quickly be able to look up the database and give you that results, right? So those are all the implementation behind the scenes, but the customer doesn't see all that stuff. They don't need to know all that stuff. All the customer sees is that, hey, as I type, I get this results, and that is essentially the example of a use case where, hey, look, you know, this is what the customer does, and this is what they see. That's typically the simple definition of use case. You can also say, hey, when I have displayed the song, if the customer goes and taps on a particular song, it should play. That's a use case. So that's a very simple use case. Hey, I see a song, I tap on the song, and it plays, right? So now for that to work, like, you tap the song, the behind the scene, the system has to find out, this is the song they want to play. Now let me get the bit stream. Let me get the bits and bytes. Oh, and that has to go and be streamed, right? It has to be fetched, it has to be sent to the device player has to be involved. A lot of things have to happen behind the scene. But the simple use case is I see the song, I tap it and it plays. So that's the use case. And the implementation is pretty complex behind the scenes.
Thank you so much. Like now I won't even look at the music streaming apps the same way. I'll be wondering how much of work they are doing behind all my searches. So my last question for today will be we always are using these kind of software. They are all pervasive. And for somebody like me who is trying to pursue a career in tech or engineering, we all know that it takes a lot of grit and perseverance to actually make a mark. But sir, what advice would you give to ambitious budding engineers?
Oh, I would say like there are, so many possibilities out there. Be curious, try to learn about them, and of all the possibilities, try out many things, and you will find the stuff that most interests you. Uh, Two things, right? I mean, yes, it has to interest you, and then also you have to be kind of good at it. And if you try many things, you'll figure out like what are the things which satisfy both the criteria. Because for a good career, it both needs to happen. You got to enjoy it, and you also want to make a meaningful difference. And if you try a few things, you'll eventually realize. And once you find that stuff, just go all in and just enjoy the ride. Don't be afraid. Explore things, ask questions, be curious, experiment things, and yeah, learn new things, and keep an open mind. So many things are changing. Technology is changing very, very fast. It's impossible to say what will happen 5 years from now, even 2 years from now, right? I mean, did 2 years back, did we even know about ChatGPT? Not much, right? But look at how much impact it has had. So yeah, be curious, keep an open mind, and just uh, just enjoy the ride.
Thank you so much, sir. Your answers were really insightful and they were really enlightening, as well as they were very, very analytical. Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure to have you with us today.
Very nice talking to you, Sujani. Thank you. All the best.